MacGybo.
Hi, I'm MacGybo, and in this video I'm going to answer some of your questions about EVE Online that you've either emailed me about or left us comments on YouTube. First question is from Haggis and Scotch. How can you kill players in these ships without Concord intervention? Being a returning player, it looks like Jita is in high-sec space. I have only been to Jita once and could not see any action like yours on screen. Generally, you will get concorded if you aggress somebody in high security space. There are some exceptions. If someone is part of your corp and your corp has a friendly fire policy, you can shoot them in high-sec space and there'll be no repercussions. If another pilot is suspect or criminal, then again you can attack them. If you are part of a corp or alliance that has an active war deck with another corp or alliance, then again you can shoot each other in high sec and Concord won't get involved. Can I kill players the way that I do without Concord intervention? No, and it actually goes a step further than that. If you shoot somebody in high sec and you're not one of the groups of people I mentioned earlier, like for example I just shoot a target, then it is an exploit if you find a way out of that situation without being concorded. For anyone who doesn't know, what concording means is when the in-game police shoot you, kill you, blow you up. Just your ship, not your pod. I'm afraid that being concorded is all part and parcel of being a high-sec ganker. In fact, if I was to redock in the Thrasher, it would mean that I'd had a bad day. So I hope that answers your question, Haggis and Scotch. John Ratcliffe asks, have you lost many fleet boosting ships? It was a pain for me ganking outside Jita. As soon as I ganked, my Gnosis would go suspect, and if it wasn't quick enough, I'd lose it. Well, John, you're doing something fundamentally wrong there. And what you've got set up incorrectly is your safety settings. For a remote booster, your safety settings should be set to green, enable safety. And that way your ship cannot do anything that would lead to it going suspect or being concorded. What a remote boosting ship can do, if you have it set to green, is continue to boost you until you go criminal. By that point, you don't really need the boosting anymore. You've already done your criminal act, so you don't need remote sensor boosting anymore. That part of the process is complete. So you need to make sure that each of the parts of your crew here, as it were, have got the safety settings set correctly. So a ganker needs to be set red. It needs to be set red because you want to go criminal when you shoot another ship. If you have that set to orange or green, you can't gank anybody. Your looter needs to be set to at least orange. And what that means is it can do a suspect act, but not a criminal one. So a suspect act means that other pilots can shoot you, but Concord won't intervene. And the act of looting someone else's ship that you've killed, that you've ganked, will set you suspect. So your looter needs to be orange. And your booster, I would keep your booster green. So I hope that answers your question, John. Next question is from Peter Stanbury, who's put in two questions. First one is, can you do a video on warp core stabilizers? Will they stop me being ganked? How effective are they, etc.? I'm not going to do a video on them, Peter. I hate warp core stabilizers, but that stems more from my low sec PvP activities rather than ganking. What a warp core stabilizer does is it allows you to warp even if you are scrammed, but it depends on the number of points of scram. So let me show you what I mean. So a warp scrambler works quite close up, 9,000 meters in the case of a warp scrambler 2. And what it does is it's got 2 points on you. It's referred to as points, and what a point is a warp scramble strength. So what you need to have is more than 2 points of warp scramble strength to be able to warp away from somebody who has you scrammed. Now remember, scramming is up close. There are some ships that give a boost to scram distance, and there are other scrams that work greater than 9,000 meters away. The other module you'll be looking at when you're looking at warp scramming is a warp disruptor, which operates at a much further distance, 24 kilometers in the case of a warp disruptor 2, but it only has 1 warp scramble strength. Now, warp core stabilizers will give you an immunity up to 2 warp scramble strength, so that's 2 points. So if anybody has only 1 or 2 points against you, the warp core stabilizer will cancel that out, it'll negate it, and it means that you can warp away. If you've got 3 ships that have you disrupted, or 2 ships that have you scrammed, then unless you're flying a couple of ships that have the exception, you'll not be able to fly away with a warp core stabilizer. Now, there's a number of changes made to a warp core stabilizer last year. One is it is now an active module, so you need to activate it, and it only works for the duration of its cycle. And the second thing is you can now only fit 1 warp core stabilizer. So they've become not impotent, but less effective over the last year. And I'll give a shout out to Rixjavix, who's been campaigning for the death of the warp core stabilizer and managed to get a heavy compromise. The exception that I mentioned is blockade runner ships and the Venture. Both of those have 2 warp core strength built into the hull. So if you have that and then a warp core stabilizer on top, that's 4 points automatically. You get the first 2 automatically built into the ship, and then the other 2 as a result of the module when it's active. Will they stop me being ganked? Asks Peter. It depends on the kind of ganking. But no, not really. There's very few gankers would only have 2 points on you. Most of the ganking that I see is either alpha ganking, which is torpedo and thrasher. You get 1 shot and then it's done and dusted. Warp core stabilizer is not going to help you there. And the other one is multiple pilots, fleets, and if each one of them has got a point on you, you're going to have more than 4 points on you, so even a ship with a built-in warp core strength isn't going to be immune against that. Peter's next question is, what is the target is invulnerable? Is that jamming your cargo scanner? No, it means you're trying to scan a ship that is in warp. So if you've got a ship that isn't actually engageable in space, you'll get that warning. You'll get all sorts of warnings if you try to scan a ship that can't be scanned. It could be that it's landing. It could be that it's not actually in system anymore. It just looks like it is on your client. Or it could be that it's actually docked, but your client is still to update with the fact that it's not there anymore. Steve Ray asks, I've got a question on how kill rights work. If I activate a kill right but don't actually kill them right there and then, how long does it last? I'm thinking about just endlessly sensor damping their tornado in a low sig fast orbiting frigate or something. Well, Steve, when you activate a kill right, what you're actually doing is making that pilot's security status suspect. And when you do that, for 15 minutes, anybody can attack them, not just you. Yes, you could just orbit them, sensor dampening them, but anyone else who was flying by would be able to start shooting at that tornado as well. And unless you had them scrammed, it's likely that the tornado pilot would just warp off until the 15-minute timer was up. If you don't kill the pilot in that 15-minute window, you still lost the kill right. It isn't something which keeps going until the pilot's dead. Next question is from Ferdy. How do I go about catching sub 1 second align time ships? In high sec? I don't know. I mean, there are a number of ways in which you can reduce locking times. Remote sensor boosting will only have so much of an effect. It's diminishing returns, so it isn't the case that if you had 10 pilots remote sensor boosting you, that you would be able to insta-lock ships. It doesn't work like that. But there are a number of other things that you can do. You could use an implant. You could use a booster as well. You could use Quaif as a good booster for reducing lock time. You could also consider using ships that have got better scan resolution, higher scan resolution as well, because that's the quality that determines how quickly you can lock onto something at scan resolution. And you can obviously use sensor boosters as well. So what have we got? Remote sensor boosting, implants, boosters, and skills as well. Make sure that you've got scan signature analysis up to 5. Even with all of that, could you get a sub 1 second align time ship? Nah. No, basically no. I don't think so. The ships that I'm never going to be able to lock onto are Astero, Shuttles, and a Sunesis as well. I find all of these to be that quick that, at least with this setup, even with implants, boosters, remote sensor boosting, and 2 sensor boosters, it's not something I can do. My last question is an email from Mason Smith, who says, "Hi MacGybo, can you please give me some fit suggestions for looters that are not Jaguars, purely because my looter clone is alpha and I don't want to splash the cash to omega it and then wait for the training." Got bad news for you, Mason. You are, I assume, using an omega for your shooter and an alpha for your looter. That's against the T's and C's of CCP of EVE Online, and you could end up with being permanently banned. I have heard of this before. You can only use one alpha account at a time and not hand in hand with an omega account. So you can't run an omega and an alpha at the same time. It's specifically against the terms and conditions of EVE Online. So if you want to run 2 accounts at the same time, I'm afraid you do have to splash the cash to omega it. Ganking, as I hope I've shown in these videos, does pay off. You will get not your money back, but you will be able to plex your accounts for the following month if you follow the guides that I've given in these videos. So I'm not going to give you any guidance on how to circumvent these rules. I'm sure you'll understand. So unfortunately, that's all I can do to answer your question. If you've got any questions about what I do here, then please post them as a comment, and I'll be happy to do another video answering all your questions about ganking and about what's been in the videos. So thanks for listening and watching, and I'll see you again next time.